He's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better.
One notable fallout after the debate last week is that President Trump didn't do, well, what he usually does, which is get in the way of his political opponent from destroying himself, right? He would always either come out and say something or do something or tweet something or Truth Social something that will then become the story. He was pretty quiet. He was sequestered. He was like Joe Biden at Camp David, taking a nap. But we did get a glimpse of Donald Trump's opinion of the last week's events, a viral video surreptitiously recorded of him on the golf course. Take a look.
You gave me so much. How did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, fantastic.
He kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so fucking bad. So
I just can't imagine.
But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just keep knocking him out, right?
That's it.
There's so much about that I love. And I don't know, Barron is always so stoic. He's such a witness to these events around him. I always want to tap into his inner thoughts. Akash, I think it's notable that the president is a pretty good tipper for his caddies on the golf course. And if he's elected, those tips will be tax-free. But are there other things to take away from this video?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the biggest takeaway is what you open the segment with, which is the extent to which he has just kept his mouth shut for the last 1 week. As you've noted, the worst thing that he could do is put his own foot in his mouth and say something outrageous and really turn off independent swing voters who were turned off by President Biden. Ultimately, they are going to be the ones who, in some respects, decide this election. Those are folks that he won in 2016, but then lost in 2020 across all these states. If this is an election about them being reminded of Trump's character and his comments and his tweets, well, then he's not going to be in the kind of advantageous position he's in. If it's an election about Joe Biden's fitness and the Democrats' policy record, then I think the Republicans and President Trump are in a great spot. And I think the extent to which he can kind of just ride this wave and not say too much, I think we all kind of agree with what he was saying. But I think the extent to which that can go unsaid and let the Democrats' nightmare speak for itself will serve the Republicans best.
Well, yes, and yes. Although I just want to follow up with you directly, Akash, because if this is the only thing that we see from him, I think this also actually reinforces an important thing for those independent voters, because everything they are seeing from Joe Biden's people, Kamala Harris, some people in the media, is a lie. They continue, as Julie pointed out in the prior segment, tell us it's raining when something very distinctly different is happening to our leg. This clip is so genuine and real, and he's saying what everybody's thinking. I think that actually does speak to some of those independent voters that would like some sincerity now and again.
No question about it. It's a pretty straightforward, response, right? Obviously, he was kind of confronted with a question, and it was shooting from the hip, so to speak. And I think it, like you said, the words kind of speak for themselves. He kind of had the same reaction as average Americans would, both to President Biden and to the prospect of Vice President Harris, which is frankly that neither of them are even remotely prepared to be president for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and Julie, it's notable that because a lot of the smart set, the people in this town, the conventional wisdom, think that Kamala Harris is a very formidable opponent to Donald Trump. He doesn't seem very concerned about that.
No, he's not. And honestly, my favorite part of that video, watching the reaction to that video, is some people thought, oh, this is bad. This is really bad. I was loving it. And, I think earlier this week, you might have tweeted out a picture. It might have been you, of a man duct taped entirely to a wall. And the only thing that's showing is his eyes. And someone said, whoever did this to Donald Trump, deserves an award. And that is what made it so great, is because he has been silent. He has been quiet. He's sort of, he's given Biden the rope, and Biden's been hanging himself, and he hasn't said a thing. And so then for the only thing you see is that reaction that really, as you said, very a reaction that all Americans can relate to or might be feeling. I think it was very effective. I don't see anything anything hurting him with this
It's
video.
it's very rare that I can see a man, a multimillionaire on a golf course handing out hundreds as a tip to his caddy, and I actually find the video relatable. But Gabe, I related to that. That could have been me, except for all the money and the leisure time. Gabe,
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as that video, I truthfully viewed it as a pretty massive nothing burger. I think that it's equivalent to pretty much adjacent to things Trump's already putting on Truth Social or often. I mean, he used some foul language, whatnot, but the real focus is on Biden. It's Trump could, maybe 5 or more of those videos with a little more vulgar language could promote it, be an issue for Trump. But the real focus continuously in the days is just going to be Biden. And I mean, the Stephanopoulos interview, how's that going to go? That's going to be a huge question.
yeah, I'll say. In fact, Gabe, I'll follow up with you on that because everyone's pointing to the Stephanopoulos video as this could be a make or break moment. It's noteworthy, isn't it, that this is going to be edited and produced. We're going to see of Joe Biden what George Stephanopoulos and ABC News wants us to see. Do you think that they could be compelled, considering the gravity of this moment? Will they be compelled to release the unedited video? Do you think they ever would?
Well, I think they have a huge ethical obligation to do so. This charade cannot go on. I think it's gone on for a very long time. That the White House and legacy media outlets, CBS, 60 Minutes, they have continuously either shielded Biden from the public or put out selectively edited clips that conservative media, places where I work, like the Washington Examiner, the Daily Caller, we try to raise concerns over these things, and we've long been sort of lambasted for having the gravitas to even remotely question some of these clips being put out, or how. And the White House, the cheap fake stuff. The New York Times, the same editorial board that is called on the president to resign, they were publishing stories. The New York Times was claiming that conservative media outlets, or the RNC specifically, Jake Schneider at the RNC, was putting out like cheap fakes or like phony content.
Doctored out of context videos that the New York Times actually then referenced as evidence as to why Joe Biden should no longer serve. Akash, final word on this. Of course, the parlor game in D.C. is who will be on the ticket if it's not Joe Biden. From your perspective, does it really make a difference? They're all going to have pretty much the same destructive policies for our economy, for regulations, and for basic freedoms.
That's exactly right. I think there's 2 important things to take away. One, yes, is Kamala Harris an absolutely horrendous politician? She is. But I wouldn't be so sure she's going to be an even easier out than Joe Biden would be, right? You will see Democrats rally around her. You'll see the media rally around her and do a million stories about how she's this iconic, like glass shattering candidate and all this stuff. And so you will see this rally around her effect. But ultimately, to your point, Larry, she or Biden or whoever is on the ballot is defending the same horrendous policy record that has prices up 20% since the Democrats took over in January of 2021. That is indefensible, regardless of whose name shows up on the ballot.
Yep, and coming off of the most expensive July 4th holiday in American history, it will continue always, no matter who's on the ticket, be about the economy. Stupid.